Hey everybody, I'm comedian A-Train and I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. Sylvia Traymore Morrison has been doing comedy longer than I've been alive. And when I think about what I want out of my comedy career, I know some people may think it's to be a household name or to be in a hit blockbuster movie, or a hit television show, or to be recognized internationally. But if the truth be told, what I really desire is what Sylvia has: longevity. I mean, to be excitedly and passionately doing what you started out doing 50 years ago is amazing. I mean, because Sylvia's still gigging. And she has the same energy, the same zeal and passion that she had as a young woman when she was, breaking barriers and kicking down doors and creating opportunities for, people like myself. And I mean, it's amazing, and I have to be honest, I didn't always know who she was. And it wasn't until my wife was watching an award show because a friend of hers was receiving an award. And it just so happened that Sylvia was also receiving an award. And they read Sylvia's bio and they was talking about, her achievements and the accolades and things. And they called Sylvia to the stage and she began to perform. She began to perform and do impressions. And my wife was like, babe, you got to get in here and see this. Come here, So I went in and I sat down with my wife and I watched Sylvia do her thing and do these impressions and do this performance. And I was mesmerized. But I was kind of upset as well because I was like, how I didn't know about this lady? You know what I mean? Like, how did I not know about Sylvia Traymore Morrison? This is the first black female writer for Saturday Night Live. And the first black female impressionist. You have to understand, as a comedian, I believe in studying the craft. I've done my homework. I've researched those who have come before me. And I felt some kind of way that, man, how did I not come across Sylvia? Like, how did I miss that, And a few years went by. I was in D.C. at an event, and Sylvia was talking to someone that was next to me, and I recognized her. And I just butted into the conversation. I was like, hey, excuse me. I know you. You're Sylvia Traymore Morrison. And she was like, and I know you. You're comedian A-Train. And I'm like, you know me. I was like, what? You know what I mean? And from that moment, man, we connected. And I wouldn't dare, belittle her legacy and her work by saying she's a colleague of mine. But the way that we connected in spirit and in heart about the world of comedy, it was just unexplainable and it was real. And since then, she's went to bat for me on some opportunities and created, some opportunities for me. And just out of appreciation and honor for who she is, the little that I could do or that I have to offer, I made it my business to do that because of who she is as a living legend. And I have this comedy series called A-Train Live, The Experience. And I brought Sylvia in on one of the shows and introduced her to our audience. And Sylvia came up and she did what only Sylvia can do. She went into her impressions, it's like, hey, I brought in Sylvia, but let's see what Wendy Williams will have to say. Let's see what Whoopi will have to say. And she began to do her thing, man, and tell her story. And by the end of her performance, this sold out show was so captivated by what Sylvia was putting out. And when she got to the end of her bit, it was like magic to see the room just rise to their feet and give her a standing ovation. They loved her. And I was honored, and you know, it's happening now. You know, I begin to get teary-eyed because what I believe as a comedian, I feel like it's our job and our responsibility to honor the people who have sacrificed so much with their career, their livelihood, their families, being ridiculed, because you have to keep in mind, Sylvia has been doing comedy for 50 years. And when you think about 50 years ago and how difficult the industry was for a comedian of color, number one. But then I want you to multiply that by it being difficult for a woman. Like, being a woman in this game, you know, I can't even imagine like what it was back then, because it's hard for women in comedy now, today. So when you look at the sacrifices and the hardship that people like Sylvia put in and endured, and at the same time, get this, maintained a heart of purity for comedy and maintained a level of zeal that it influenced others around her, people like myself. I'm influenced by her love and her passion. Their comedians get burnt out within the first 5 to 7 years of doing comedy. They get burnt out and they become bitter, you know, and you can just see that energy on them begin to darken. And Sylvia is such a joy to be around. And I felt a tremendous honor in having her grace my platform at A-Train Live The Experience. Because like I said, as a comedian, I feel like it's our responsibility to not have people like Sylvia Traymore Morrison and their legacy fall between the cracks because we didn't do our part of keeping the current platform aware of the opportunities that we currently have due to the sacrifices and the commitment and the zeal of people like Sylvia Traymore Morrison. So it was a tremendous honor for me. I appreciate her. I love her. I honor her. And